audit analytics and analytics mindset. First, the first concept is audit data analytics. Audit data analytics, defined by AICPA, is a science and art of discovering and analyzing patterns, identifying anomalies, and extracting other useful information in data underlying or related to subject matter of an audit through analysis, modeling, and visualization for purpose of planning or performing the audit. It sounds a little bit abstract, so think, for example, for a supermarket chain that is selling thousands of goods to millions of customers, either at hundreds of bricks and motor stores all over the country or through a virtual store over the web. The details of each transaction are stored, including date, customer ID, goods bought and their amount, and the total money spent. This is typical amount to a lot of data every day. When we audit such a supermarket chain, we may want to learn the rules of the customer's behaviors so that it will be helpful for us to verify the existence and the completeness of the transactions. That's why the auditors need to find the patterns. The solutions to this task is not evident. We do not know exactly which people are likely to buy this ice cream flavor or the next book of this author, watch this movie, visit this city, or click this link. The customer behaviors change in time and by graphic locations. But we know that it is not completely random. People do not go to supermarkets and buy things at random. When they buy beer, they buy chips. When they buy ice cream in summer, hot chocolate in winter, and there's certain patterns in the data. We may not be able to identify the process completely, but we believe that we can construct a good and useful approximation. That approximation may not explain everything, but it is still to be able to account for some part of the data. We believe that though identifying the complete process may not be possible, we can still detect certain patterns or the regularities. Further, we can use these patterns to evaluate the auditing risks, as well as identifying the anomalies. Find the anomalies means find the outliers, find those unusual records and events to find the potential risk in the transactions. Then I want to emphasize extracting other useful information. Here, extracting doesn't only include export the data from the original source. We also need to extract the data in the right way. That means we have to get the data in the convenient format for us to do the further analysis. For instance, in this country, if we say things like 616, comma 000, comma 000, that means 616 million, right? However, this comma in some other countries, it just has the same meaning as a decimal point. So if you say 616 decimal 00, that just means 660, not like this. This is the format things. Format is also important for the dates. As we can see here, we have our date formats put like months, date, and year. In other countries, they have date first, then months, then year. And some other countries even have year, months, and date. So we need to pay careful attention to those formats because it will cause troubles if we do not have a standardized format of those data. And this is an issue we need to pay attention in the data extracting process. Next, audit of financial statement of the entities of all types and size are now being performed in an environment where there's a pervasive use of information technologies. In this content, increased use of ADAs is like to be important to maintain and enhancing the relevance and value of the financial statement audit. The benefit of making more use of ADAs includes first, improve the understanding of the entities and operations and association risks. Audits spend a lot of their time to find the potential risk. Also, it will increase the potential for detecting material misstatement and improve the communication with those charged with the governance of the audit entities. We'll talk about these benefits in detail later. First, increase the potential for detecting material misstatement. As we learn, when we learn the traditional way to do the auditing, we often use sampling for test of controls and substantive procedures. However, with advanced tools, the advanced technologies, now we have full population test. That means 100% of the items. We can test all the items. This was not possible because it will take a lot of time of the auditors and it will consume a lot of human resources. However, since we have technologies now, we make it possible. However, I still want to emphasize that sampling would still remain as a useful audit techniques in many circumstances. So technologies do help, but it doesn't solve every problem. Then improving the communication with those charged with the governance of audit entities. Audit as a subject of business, the concept of it is still communication. We need to communicate our findings and our analytics with those stakeholders and share them what we found. So as a result of matters noted in the preceding bullet points, and auditors use ADAs may provide a greater breadth and depth of the useful insight in matter of concerns to those in charge with governance. Especially, we can use those visualization tools to help us to express our opinions and show our findings. So when we're using ADAs, auditors may often be able to make a more efficiently and more effectively describes matters identified by the auditors. In this case, the stakeholders can focus more on the most important things, that is your findings. The visualization tools will help the stakeholders a lot to understand what you find. Then analytics. What is analytics? Analytics is a means of extracting value from data. Analytics is assessment of data with technology tools. Did I have a message? Oh, no. Okay, let me continue. So today, there are more powerful analytic tools to more efficiently and effectively analyze a broader range of data and types of data than in the past. Thus, there's an increased opportunity for enhancing insight about the story, what stories data can tell to address the business issues and transform the way decisions are made. However, despite the increase of sophistication of the data, the analytics, the most important part of analytics are still human elements, including critical thinking and judgment. We use technologies, but we do not depend too much on the technologies. It is us to decide where, when, and how we use technologies, but do not let the technologies to use us. And analytics mindset. Analytics mindset help us to use a human element in auditing. What is analytics mindset? There are 4 key abilities you need to know. First one, ask the right questions. Then extract and transform and load relevant data. Then apply appropriate data analytics techniques and then interpret and share the results with the stakeholders. We'll go through them one by one, but before I continue, I want to discuss the importance of data and analytics in business today. So the importance of data and analytics in business is now widely known, and there's a broad consensus. There's a broad knowledge that the data analytics having dramatically impacted today's business and competitive environment, and that its impact will only, and this impact will only increase, and this is analytics transformations. Based on the survey did by Forbius Insight and EY among the global companies, they find 78% of the companies agree that data and analytics are changing the nature of competitive advantages. 66% of the respondents are investing more than 5 million in analytics. But the result is not very good. Only 10% of those companies can identify themselves as a leader in the analytics strategy by claiming that they use analytics in their decision making at least most of the time, and they report a significant shift in their ability to meet competitive challenges through analytics. And then they see themselves as advanced or leading in applying analytics to the business issue and opportunities. And this is why the employers now want the employees are equipped with the analytics knowledge and learn how to use the technology tools. They are now fully knowledge the importance of analytics, but they still have a gap in their human resource. That's why they want to hire such employees with become more analytics. This is not just about the advanced analytics skill set. It has 2 dimensions. The first one is behavior alignment, which includes culture and mental models, organizations and process design, learning and development, and incentives and rewards. There has been a disproportionate the investment in and management attention focused on technology compared with the people and process. We have the figures here. You can see that to create the value in an organization around analytics, there must be both behavioral alignment and technical capabilities. The behavioral alignment represents the consumption of analytics. When this is high, a company desire to consume analytics will be seen in their culture and their mental models, their organizations and process design, learning and development, and its incentive and rewards. And technique capabilities represents the production of the analytics. When this is high, companies will focus on the data quality, infrastructure and tools and data science. So only when we have both of the behavior alignment and technique capabilities will the value be created. So what are the key business functions are being transformed under current circumstance? First, tax. Around the world, there have been an advancement in tax authority ability to collect tax data directly from companies and individuals and share it with other tax authorities, creating a global transparency. We know that IRS has been trying to cooperate with the other governments for a long time to collect the citizens' tax information overseas. Thus, there's a movement towards a real-time tax assessment. This is driving a greater focus on tax business, consolidate skills, and this need for tax compliance skills, because the use of technologies and analytics in this function. Major area using analytics in tax includes transaction tax, tax reporting, risk analysis and monitoring, targeted analytics, supply chain analysis, and transfer pricing analysis. Then audit and compliance. For example, for audit, auditors can use analytics to gain richer insight into the risk portfolio of the company to better inform audit planning. Auditors can also perform analysis of a large population of data. As we mentioned before, we have an entire population of transactions. We can test 100% of the whole populations instead of just a sample. Auditors can also identify outliers and items that represent a greater risk more readily with analytics by find the patterns, find the anomalies. Then for compliance, for instance, a regulatory requirement continually are increasing. Analytics technologies can help test the controls around the fulfillment of these regulatory requirements and forecast the risk areas. Then fraud. Companies are moving from more reactive fraud identification to a proactive approach, with the active fraud monitoring and fraud detection driven by analytics. As an example, the word or phrase meaning buy is different in each country. For instance, in Brazil, a phrase that buy a cup of coffee can represent buy terminology. So fraud specialists are now using the programs, for instance, textual analysis, text mining, and sentiment analysis to scan all the emails and other corporate data source for keywords or phrases like buy a cup of coffee in Brazil, which may suggest fraud. Additionally, cyber breaches and cybersecurity has also become very important part of our fraud field. And the insider threats are fastest growing risk, driving the investment in the forensic data analytics. That's how the value transformation changed the fraud area. Then strategy. Companies are evolving in more analytics-driven organization by truly focusing on creating value and setting strategy based on the business intelligence. The use of predictive analysis allows companies to be more forward-looking as well and proactive in setting strategies. Customers, including marketing and customer services. Just take the same example I just given. If we have the supermarket chain, we can use a customer's ID, customer's previous transaction data to predict the customer's demands and give them more customized services based on their portfolios. The companies now have the ability to analyze the customer's data at a much more regular level through a broader source of data, including social media, click streams, online shopping chats, and the others. This allows the companies to create and market to customize the offer based on the individual customer's portfolio. And companies also are better able to see the trends in real time and predict the future trends. The sentiment analysis helps the companies to better understand a customer's mindset in optimizing customer interactions, especially in the area of customer services. For instance, a company can search call center voice to text data to target key emotive words and phrases that might indicate anger, confusion, frustrations, which might indicate an issue needs to be addressed. And as our auditors, we can use the same technologies. We had a research before. They analyzed the towns using the broad meeting and protocols, and scientists are trying to find the indicators of the frauds based on those towns, based on the words used by the CEOs and CFOs. And then in the utilities industries, a provider now can rate a given customer's meter every few minutes, allowing the providers instantly to analyze the flow of usage by day and time for the particular customers, and potentially providing more dynamic pricing and usage incentives. Better data also is helping power the companies better schedule their power productions, resulting in a better planning and thus greener power production. Then merge and acquisitions. Emerging technologies and analytics specialists are now in high demand. Many companies are addressing this need of securing these technologies and talent through mergers and acquisitions. Then operations. Within operations in healthcare industry, for instance, a much larger amount of wide variety of data types are being collected and analyzed, from patients' records, medical research, wearable medical and health devices. For instance, I have a watch that if I sit here more than 1 hour, it will remind me to stand up, and they will send my health data back to the companies, and the companies can use the data to help me to make my own health plan and fitness plans. So this is now changing the way medical providers are providing their health care, allowing them to make a better, faster, and more cost-effective decision decisions to drive a better patient's diagnosis and optimal care and new drug discoveries. Then IT, it is fairly obvious that the collection of data and modeling of analytics are driven by technologies. Therefore, there are significant changes impacting IT infrastructure and the necessary skill sets. As described, there will be a great demand of analytics skills and analytics tools. That's why we learn this class. The last one, talent. For instance, effective analysis can help the global company to track and manage its needs of global mobility programs and multi-location workforce. It can also help forecast the future workforce requirement. Analytics also changing the type of talent that organizations need. Some work done today, especially work that is less judgment based on more routines, is being done using analytics technologies or through artificial intelligence, in turn driving a great need of analytic and critical thinking skills. I think in Rutgers Business School, information system department, Professor Xiong, not me, Xiong, are developing a HR system with AI to help the companies to find the talented they want. And I heard that program goes well. If you are interested, you can contact that department to learn the details about that program. Okay. Next, so we get back to the 4 key concepts of data mindset. The first one is ask the right question first. So many companies actually want to start a data or analytics conversation around getting value from their data. However, they should begin by asking themselves which business decision they need to make and how to make it more efficiently and effectively, and only then determine what data source might help answer those questions. This is where the value of the data analysis is created. So let's see the graph here. This is a virtual demonstration how analytics mindset is iterative process and how the process flows. You will see the strategy that needs to begin first with asking the right business questions to support the decisions that need to be made. For there, then you find the relevant data and appropriate data source. Then you perform analytics. This analytics will provide insight and answer the business questions being asked, which then drive to the decisions. Throughout this process, there is a continuously feedback loop that makes the process iterative. Analytics mindset keep asking questions, keep goes through this whole process until the right answer emerge. And the right questions are those that lead to the right answers. Let's talk a little bit more about ask right questions. Being able to ask the right questions relies heavily on several things. First, the analysts need to understand who the relevant stakeholders are and their objectives. Knowing that your audience and what they want to accomplish is critical to understanding the value and how to identify the right questions. We need to know the stakeholders' background, whether they are experts, what's their positions, what do they really want, what answer do they really want you to find. Second, the analyst needs to have an understanding of the business and the underlying business process, the overall business content. As an example, if you were asked to perform a competitive analysis across the high-tech industry and you didn't have any strong understanding of this industry and key performance indicators, you may not ask the right questions. For instance, select the right indicators to analyze. Okay, the analyst should also seek to understand if the problem currently exists. For example, a CFO says trends in account receivable increasing while sales are decreasing, and knows that there are some collectability issues that needs to be assessed. Then the CFO might be asked for analysis to understand what's behind the issue in a little more depth. Alternatively, an analyst might be trying to understand whether the problem could exist. For example, auditors could ask questions to indicate what could show a collectability issue. And the analyst should also think about whether it is appropriate to develop an expectation to help determine the right questions. For instance, if a CFO told you that there has been a change in credit policy, like credit terms change from 30 days to 60 days, you would probably expect to see an increase in account receivable balance outstanding in 30 to 60 days categories, because now the companies allow the customers to do that. Okay, any questions? Then we come to the next part: extract, transform, and load relevant data. First, we focus on the competency, is understanding the data characteristics and their relevance. So what are data characteristics? I think I have it. Oh. Here, no, here. The data characteristics are 4 V's. Variety includes financial, customer, social media, video, all the big data we have. Then volume, general size, parameters and implications. Velocity, frequency of the data updates and implications. And veracity, the trustworthiness of the source. We have the principle called garbage in, garbage out. So we have to ensure that the data quality is high before we do all the data analytics work. Oh. And in determining of relevance, this is focused on what data with the analysis you need to perform to answer your questions. So this is highly relevant to our first concept: ask the right questions. It is also important to understand the flow of the data in accounting information systems. There are a lot of different kinds of accounting information systems, like accounting information system under SAP, under ERP, and a lot of big companies have their own customized accounting information systems. So when you do the audit work, you need to be familiar with accounting information systems, find what modules are in this context, and the capabilities and limitations of the data, and find the routines versus the non-routine flow of the data, who generates and oversee the data, and in what capacity. This is also a way to do the information risk management. By asking these questions, it will help you to better assess the internal auditing risk. Once this understanding is established, the ETL process can begin. This starts with the extraction of the data. For extractions, key things need to be known, including what data to ask for, how to ask for the data, how to manage the data security, and what formats that data need to be. We should notice that the AICPA has undertaken an extensive audit data standards project to help address the challenges of the auditors in securing accurate data in a usable format that is repeatable and maintain the data security and integrity. I think after like 2004, all the financial statement report submitted to SEC are asked to following a special format called XBRL, and now most of those financial statements has been put into a standard data, so we can download it from the EDGAR and have an easy machine readable format, and we can do the analysis based on those financial statements. Currently, there are uniform audit data standards that identify the key information needed for audits, and that provide a common framework covering data file definition and techniques specifications. For more information, you can see the AICPA website, or you can open EDGAR to see what the XBRL format is. So after this, the next step is data transformation, which also referred to as data cleansing. This involving converting data from one format to another to load it into an analytics tools. This includes making a certain that only the data needed is extracted, and that this data is complete and accurate. Data cleansing need to be performed both before and after the data loading process. It's quite understandable why we need the data cleansing before and why we need it after. Because through the data cleansing, after the data loading, we may have some of the format changes, and we sometimes miss some of the data. So we need to re-verify that the data is still complete and accurate. That's why we need the data cleansing after the data loading process. Loading data includes knowing which tools the data should be loaded into for the most efficient and effective way. For example, this might be driven by amount of data and capacity of the given analytics tools. Like if we have like thousands of records, we can open it with Excel. However, if we have millions of records, Excel will be very slow for you to handle this data. So we may need to consider use other analytic tools like Tableau, or we can even use Python to read those data. Next, maintaining data integrity. Throughout the ETL process, it is important to maintain the integrity of your data. This is often done through a data validation. For example, a control total of your data matching account balance total in a general ledger. And another very quick example is that if I want to export all the students' grades and names from Canvas, I have to make sure that the files that I export from Canvas have the same number of the students as it's shown on Canvas. Or I will miss one of our students and will cause a big trouble. Lastly, some of the steps in capturing data can be automated. As you can imagine, it is better to have something automated than require manual intervention because of the possibility of human error. For example, you might have an analysis set up in an analysis tools and have tools connected to a live data stream, so your analytics results can be observed in real time. And we will learn how to use this automation process and automation tools as the in the last 2 weeks of this course. We'll use UiPath to learn the robotic automation process. Any questions? Okay, let's continue. Apply appropriate data analytics technologies. It is important to understand the purpose of different types of data analytics technologies and how to determine which technologies are most appropriate for your objectives of your analysis. So your objectives might include the need of prove or disapprove your expectations. If one is developed a confirmatory approach versus a confirmatory approach may be considered rather than an exploratory approach. We have a specific example here. During the planning phase of an audit, the auditor is required to assess risk. One way doing this is by exploring data and looking for the anomalies. As the audit process into the executive phase, the auditor consider risk error of intentional misstatement, the effectiveness of control, and amount of actually recorded. The objective is to confirm and disconfirm an expectation regarding the recording amounts. Let me explain it in details. If we want to explore the data, that means we want to have an overview of a large amount of data. In this situation, we're better to use visualization tools like Tableau, which help us to see the outliers in the first slide. And in this way, we can explore the data. However, when it comes to confirm and disconfirm, we need to do the data filtering. In this case, Excel or IDEO may help because we want to find some specific data and some specific records among a large amount of data. So in this case, we do not use visualization tools. Another example is seen in marketing. A company may analyze existing sales looking for key drivers like customers, demographics, geographic population trends, and the goal is to identify the factors that drive sales. Before a well-run company develops a new product or move into a new territories, it develops expectations such as through a demand analysis, forecast, or budgets. Data analysis can assist in confirming the assumption underlying the projections, and assess the strength of the anticipated relationships. In this project, we can still use visualization tools like Tableau, because most of them have most of those visualization tools have the functions to help you to find the patterns and make the predictions of the future. And we will learn it in the following weeks. There are many ways to analyze data. Some of them you may be been very familiar with, like ratios, gross margins, and inventory turnovers, that sort of things. Then the others, like sorting, aggregations, trends, comparison, and forecastings, will be some fundamental functions of the analytic tools. So we need to first ask the right questions, find what kind of analytics technologies you want to use, and choose the right analytics tools. Then, gain familiarity with analytics tools. It is also important to gain familiarity with analytic tools. There are many tools that are capable for performing the analytics. You may not need to be an expert in every one of these analytic tools, but you should have some hand-on experience and know the fundamental functions of these tools. Some of the fundamental tools include Excel. This is what we will learn next week, and basic database like Access. This won't be learned from this course, but this database, you need to have the basic knowledge of this database things. Then visualization, including Tableau, Spotfire, Qlik, Microsoft Power BI. We will learn Tableau in this course. But I have to mention that the Power BI is also a very popular and a functioned program, a tool that a lot of companies want you to know. It is also good to have working knowledge or awareness of other tools, including those that might be specific to the career path that you are choosing. For instance, IDEA. IDEA is a program that's specifically designed for the auditors that help you to find the outliers, to test the existence, completeness, and accuracies of the records. And we will learn it after the mid-exam. UiPath, automation anywhere, and these programs are designed for the business process automation. They are not hard code. It can be hard code, but it can also be easy, friendly for the non-experts to use. And it will, if you can understand how to use them, it will help you to do your work efficiently. Then analytics AIs and MindBridge AIs, these are the AI expert systems to help you to make the decisions, business decisions. Next, ability to interpret and share results with stakeholders. As discussed previously, the end goal is to provide insight to your stakeholders based on the objectives that were identified. Your insights are driven from your interpretation of the analytics result. Therefore, it is important that you interpret the outcomes of your analysis appropriately based on your questions and expectations, if you have one. When you look at the results of your analysis. Use your critical thinking and ask yourself, what do you see? Do you see what you expected to see? Do your result make sense to you? Is there any further analysis required to meet your objectives? So if you see the conflict between your expectations and your result, you may need to think why this conflict happened. And is that because of the data quality, something wrong with my analytics process, or it's just because my expectations are not right? Okay. Once you interpreted your results, you need to summarize them in a manner conducive to and compelling for your stakeholders. Think how your stakeholders will best receive the information. Think about their background. Think about the words you will use in your presentation and how much time you will have to present, whether the presentation will be in person or virtual, what's the best format of your presentation will be. Would that be video, or you want to show them with a pie chart, bar chart, or if you want to send them a report or a dynamic images? This can, all of them can be questions, and whether you have any additional recommendation for the further analysis. And visualization can be used as a technique and way to present your findings as well. For example, in the audit profession's current research is being conducted about whether visualization can provide audit evidence. I can give you an example here. I have a colleague whose name is Maria Xiong. She had a project with an Australian hospital, and she helped their internal auditors to build a visual audit program to see the payrolls. And the program has proved to be very successful. She helped the hospitals to find the errors in their payroll and save a large amount of money of that hospital. So this visual audit has become a very hot topic in the auditing field now, and in workers in our accounting information system department, we have this research field for our scientists. And one benefit of new analytics tools is the ability to present the results easily in more sophisticated visual manner, like visualization. Snapshots of different visual components are called dashboard. We will learn how to design a dashboard when we learn how to use Tableau. And you can make choices about displaying your analysis in a variety of ways, which might include tables, area charts, map charts, heat maps, Gantt charts, horizontal, vertical bar charts, pie charts, line charts, scatter plots, bubble charts, and more. The design of the visualization is not only the science, but also art. We'll learn some principles. How should we design the visualizations? Then the stakeholders can see the most important information you want to show them in the first slide. All right. We have an example here. When we're making choice about the visualization, it's appropriate. There are many design principles to consider, such as colors, sizing, label visualization, simplicity. For instance, we have two charts here. One is a pie chart of investment portfolio breakdown, and another one is also investment portfolio breakdown. So which one do you think is better? Anyone want to answer the question? Okay.
percent.
Probably the one on the left because it pops out,
Okay.
but it's, I don't know.
It's
Okay.
kind of more clearly than the right one.
Yeah, the graph have like more information.
I think the one on the right.
Yes. And me too.
I think the right one help us to see like how much percentage each place has.
Yes, yes. And I personally prefer the right one. Although usually we have a pie chart to show the percentage of those portfolios breakdown. In this case, we think this bar chart is better. Why? Because this bar chart not only include the labels of the stocks, it also sorted from the highest to the lowest, and we have a reference lines tell you about what's the accurate percentage of those stocks and equities. However, it can also be improved. For instance, we can color this bar chart like from the darkest color to the lightest color, rather than just sort them with the quantities. These principles of the visual design will be introduced in week 4 and week 3, week 4, and week 5, I think. And this can be very interesting. As I said, it's not only science, it is also art. Next, the competency framework. This is also the summary of the lecture today. We first ask the right questions, and we have the 4 key concepts under ask the right questions. Then how we extract, transform, and load relevant data, and what are the relevant data. And then apply the appropriate data analytics techniques. This framework is provided by EY, so you can take it as a reference and see what analytics tools is now most popular among those employers. Like they want you to become a master in Excel, in database, in visualization. You don't need to be experts in each one of these applications. If you can be familiar with one of them, that's enough. Then EY also want us to have the working knowledge about SQL for each career path, like audit. We want you to know how to use IDEA, ACL, and teamwork. And for tax, for managerial and forensic, they have a different requirement for each career path specific. So just please search on the LinkedIn frequently and to see what's a new trend and new demand for your own ideal position. Then a lot of business field now want you to awareness of some of the programming languages like VBA, Python, Java, that sort of things. And I personally recommend Python because this is a trend for the future. And if you learn some statistic things, that will be better. Also, if you know some database tools like SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft, that's okay. And the SSIS packages. SSIS packages are the workflow and data flow packages, including SQLs and those database tools. So if you have time and if you are interested, you can also take quick online course or just some introduction level course to learn about this awareness analytic tools. And this is the conclusion of this course. Analytics is changing the role of the business professionals, and that is no exceptions for the accounting professions. Work on developing your analytics mindset to add value to both yourself and the professions. Next, I want to take a quick look at big data. Big data is we need to expand our mind from the narrow definition of big data to a larger one. The things like voice, video, anything we can see, we can watch can be big data, and they are unstructured big data. Although they may be a little bit hard for us to handle, they usually include a lot of values that may help us to do the audit analytics. And we have a course called Emerging Auditing Technologies. That's a PhD level course, and we'll discuss how can we use those Instagram data, the social media data, your YouTube records, and radar data, such of things to find the potential risk for a firm. Also, we have data in motion. We have untrusted and uncleansed data. These are all big data. So in your future work, you may not limit your scope into the structured data and the very standard ones. We may also look at those unstructured data, which may help you to find the potential risks. And this is the end of this course. The data now flows the internet. Every second is equivalent to the data store on the entire internet to 20 years. For me, I think it's the best time because I really interested in this data and I want to be a data scientist in accounting field. So I don't know if it's good for you, but this is a trend of our world. This is a trend of future. So we need to learn more about the technologies. So this is the end of our course. Do you have any questions?